manufacturing plants or the turbine manufacturing plants need to be located on the coast. They cannot be, say, manufactured here in Chennai and transported. Because one thing is, these blades are very huge. So the road infrastructure is not going to allow for that. So therefore, the government would need to think in terms of allocating land along the coast for the manufacturing to take place. Now, one other thing that I think pleased me a lot earlier this morning was when there was this reference to power to X. We at the Indian Wind Power Association have been talking about power to X for at least about 10 years. And what we believe is that offshore, if you are able to set up what you call energy islands, like there is tremendous scope. Like one, you set up your thing offshore over there, and probably over there you can have a water desalination plant. A water desalination plant, sir, will be able to supply drinking water to the whole of Tamil Nadu throughout the year. So that is something I think that we should look at. The other thing is, given the location, there is tremendous scope for export of power. It can be exported to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, I think 60% of their energy still comes from burning of fuel. So, I mean, there is a tremendous scope over there. When I'm talking of fuel, I'm talking about this oil, this thing, so that is what they're using. So there is that scope over there. Now, if you have water desalination over there close by to your energy island, the other thing that flows is that perhaps you can use that particular thing, create RO water, have your thing of a hydrogen plant over there, have a pipeline, draw it to the land, and like you have your bottling and whatever other plants over there, and think in terms of transportation. So the, shall I say, the opportunity over there is immense. Now, what we also need to look at is that, like, do we in India have the technology to take the power that is being produced offshore and bring it onshore? Like, I believe that requires a specialized cable laying. So I think that is where you people come in. That's the technology you all have. So you could probably be the technology partner for that. Then we require to strengthen our grid infrastructure in terms of the thing of the substations, receiving substations, distribution substations, etc. And the other thing is that in case you have this huge availability of energy available close by, like further industries can come up over there itself. I mean, it could be all the energy intensive industries. Now, the other thing that strikes me is that if you're having hydrogen, like your fertilizer industry, petroleum industry, all of them require it. Steel industry requires it. So I mean, the thing is, the possibilities are huge. We just need to exploit them. And I think Tamil Nadu is very, very ripe for it. So we would be more than happy to work with the government to make these things happen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Helene?
Yeah, I don't know if there's much to add. I think at what was said earlier, it's a prerequisite to have a harbor and a good port infrastructure. There's a lot of other challenges around that, which has already been mentioned. The grid is also important in this case, storage and so on, and we can continue. But I think what I think you also have to think about here is that development happens so fast in this. The turbines are getting bigger and bigger, and I think we have to remember to be agile when you're planning such a big infrastructure like this, and really think ahead and work together with the industry here to make sure that you get the requirements right.
Yeah. See, the renewable energy supply chain is defined as a transformation of raw energy into usable energy. That way, this India set the Government of India set the target of wind energy 140 gigawatt by 2030. Out of which wind alone it is 140. Out of which 30 is from the offshore. And among that 30, also 13 is from Tamil Nadu. So Tamil Nadu is having great potential. I think this Indian and Denmark bilateral minister said that bilateral partnership, green strategic partnership, should count with action to execute this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, we will continue now because I would like to ask the Minister first, how should companies, and I talk about project developers, OEMs and sub-suppliers, prepare themselves to get a hold of these opportunities now evolving here in Tamil Nadu and all over India? Would you give your reflections on that? What should they do? Yeah, preparing for grasping the opportunities. Yeah.
Sir, as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, now there is a good trend. I mean, a political trend is here. And our Honorable CM is very particular that these kind of initiatives should be taken. As well as we are very open to countries like Denmark to have better collaborations and cooperations, whatever it is. And as far as wind energy is concerned, we need more technology. So it will be a good thing that we can have your support for coming up with proper project proposals. We have certain studies, that's what I understand. That studies reveal that there is a huge potential. But I am not aware that there is a proper proposal kind of thing that has been prepared. And we need to work upon that because in that way we can explore what is the real potential. And of course the government of Tamil Nadu will be with you. And our Honorable CM is purely, he is very particular about achieving something towards sustainable development goals. And green energy, we have very huge potential and we are looking forward for collaborations. And you can help us in developing the projects as well. As you talk.
Thank you very much. Minister and Mr. Schöntoft, what are your reflections? How should you prepare?
Well, I think this speaks to the, at least from an outside-in perspective, and we're coming at it as a developer, probably the complexity of the market. In that, I think in India, and certainly compared to a lot of the other markets where we've been active and built offshore wind, the number of stakeholders is very high. Right. So I think there is a number of different ministers at the central government level that are relevant to discuss with, and who have different agendas, to be frank, and different priorities. And then there's the state level, which is probably equally important, if not in certain aspects more important, and the supply chain. And I think that it's really sort of, from my perspective, it's getting our heads around and the number of different stakeholders and the complexities, which are, I think, compared to other markets, quite high. I think that's probably the most challenging part for us. But I agree with everything you said, Minister.
Yeah, from my view, I think I support the Minister because there is a political view in this acceptance from the state. And that is very, very important. When the political and the bureaucracy works together, I think then we can move these scenarios into further as the stakeholders. And I'm happy that our chairperson, Mr. Martin, is here, and my colleague, Policy Director Martin, is here also, where we are ready to give our experience from the GWEC from the other part of the world to move this statement, the stakeholders consultancy here. If this offshore is coming up, and we will be here to support those.
Yeah, I'm maybe approaching it from a little bit of a practical approach again, but maybe it's because I really want to see this happening. But if you take from one end, it's clear to see that the ambitions of India is here. It's clear to see that the demand and the strength is here. If you go to the other end, I would also say the technology is almost there. Many of the things which would be required, we are doing today in other parts of the world, demonstrate. I think also many of the industrial players which you will need, at least among the Danish players, are already here in India running fairly big operations. So I think now it's time to attack the in-between. We have to be a little bit more practical, and I really offer us to sit together with the government and more practical, looking how is this going to look like? What is needed, where and how? And you mentioned all the manufacturing facilities which have to be established at the coastline. We cannot anywhere transport these components inland. But let's sit together and start to map that out and make a more concrete plan for it. We are so eager and so happy to attend these conversations.
Thank you, sir. So one aspect, I think, where IIT Madras Research Park can play a major role is in taking the wind energy industry further in terms of technological development, be it in terms of instrumentation or measurement and a host of other things. Now, like a very simple thing, like the prediction of wind. The input data currently goes in from the Indian Meteorological Department once in 6 hours. The output expected from the windmill is once every 15 minutes. Okay. So the thing is that now at the same time, great levels of accuracy are called for in this. Otherwise, your grid is going to become unstable and stuff like that. So therefore, I think this is one particular area where a lot more requires to get done. And what we have done from the Indian Wind Power Association is to state to the Indian Meteorological Department, look, you cannot probably set up masts and stuff like that to get the information that you want, but our windmills already have SCADA data. So we can provide you that on a near real-time basis, like what do they typically want? Wind direction, wind speed, pressure, temperature, height at which it is measured. All that we already have. All that we require is a communication network that provides it to them so that the levels of accuracy with which we predict become that much better. Now, when we keep adding more and more renewable energy into the grid, there is a stronger possibility of grid failure. So I think that is an area that needs to get addressed, and that is where I believe that the IIT Madras Research Park can do a lot in making these things happen. Now, when you talk of offshore, like you have huge things far out at sea, about 40-50 kilometers away. Point is that how are you going to be measuring things over there? Is it through robotics? Is it through some other method? So your instrumentation, measurements, and the frequency with which the entire thing is analyzed and set right. So these are things that I think become critical. Like in the sense that, okay, you have a problem with an onshore windmill, you get yourself a crane and you set the thing right. What are you going to do over there? Okay. So I mean, these are all things that I think we need to study. Like Denmark has the experience, and I'm sure with all that experience, we will be able to proceed forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I will be very brief because I agree very much with what you say here. I think collaboration between the industry park here and the companies, the universities, I think we need to bring that together to be ready to solve some of these challenges that there still will be. So I think that is the key to make these partnerships. We have witnessed today some great partnerships being signed, and I think that's perhaps the way forward to collaborate between universities and the companies here.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very good point, sir. Ajay sir, you addressed this point and you have given homework to IIT Madras to work on this research part. Yeah. Yeah, I also look at, there are a number of stakeholders in developing, this RE projects. I consider only 3 major stakeholders. One is this IPP in India, and second is the OEM, original equipment manufacturer. Third is a developer. So IPP who wins the bid and give the orders to the OEM and the developer separately, right? And OEM who who manufacture the wind turbines, and developer who facilitate this IPP and OEM by providing them the infrastructure like land, wind, grid. So these are the major three key stakeholders. Here I would address, all these three key stakeholders having their own challenges. If you look at this OEM, the complexity of higher capacity of the turbine, which are higher hub height and rotor diameter, it has huge logistic challenges. So we need to work together to, meet out this renewable energy share of the world energy consumption. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I will give a final question, but only to the Minister this time, and then we will wrap up afterwards. The question goes, Minister, in Denmark, as in India, we have very bold and ambitious political targets on renewable energy, onshore, offshore, wind, solar, wind, of course, as we speak of it. But at the same time, having these ambitious targets, we actually experience in industry a drought of projects. We don't have a stable pipeline for new projects. How do we avoid not having a stable pipeline, creating uncertainty for the industry here in Tamil Nadu and in India in general? Do you have a comment on that?
Sir, as far as now, the present situation is concerned, there is a study by a consulting agency called KPMG. They have taken the stability in policies is the first thing that is strengthening Tamil Nadu. That's what they feel. The industry feels that there is stability in the policies of Tamil Nadu, whatever may be the government. As rightly pointed out our Mr. Gentleman Director, there are certain challenges. Because this in India, this has to be dealt with by few departments, not one department. So, but consultations are on the way. It's happening in a better way. How we can challenge these kind of things. So there is a very strong possibility that we can come up with the proper policy changes or whatever it is required very soon. Because already the discussion is going on. And the Honorable CM has rightly told you that he is very much committed to achieve SDG goals as far as possible. So this kind of discussions will take us to the next level. And already the 3-4 departments which are already into this sector, discussions are happening. And we can very well take forward.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Minister and all the panelists for sharing your insights and giving us latest news. Thank you, Minister. And it seems like there's really a strong potential to get a hold on here, while companies are now exploring and discussing with authorities that are supporting the development here, how to come further here. So thank you very much for giving all your insights and pinpoints at this debate here. On behalf of Confederation of Danish Industry, I can also mention that we are situated here in India, and now also in Chennai, and we are happy to be here. We try to help our member companies within the wind sector to take part in this new development on onshore and offshore wind energy and all the other green energies. We have an office, have had it since 2008 in Mumbai, and we have, as I said, recently opened an office in Chennai, and we're very happy to have done that. And actually, since the new office was inaugurated here last year, 6 companies, and I'm happy to say that, has joined, and we are already considering an expansion. So things are going well. Further, we also provide information and network for our members on India's wind opportunity here, and we try to evolve the collaboration between Indian companies and Danish companies. So thank you very much, and also thank you to the governments for creating the Indo-Danish strategic, green strategic partnerships here. We are very happy at that. Thank you all for attending the discussion. All right, the Minister wants to say a word.
Yeah, just one information. That is, the Government of India has come up with a 4 gigawatt offshore wind energy tender. That is to establish a first offshore wind park that is going to be situated near Kanyakumari. Actually, it is planned between Kanyakumari and Gulf of Mannar. And the first park is going to be taken up in near Kanyakumari. So the tender proceedings are on the way. I think it is on 23rd of March they are going to open the tender.
This really deserves an applause. So, thank you very much, and I'd also like to pay a special thanks to His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of Denmark, for attending this meeting. Thank you, sir, for being here. And he will be given a tour at IIT Madras Research Park by its president, Professor Junjunwala. So thank you very much. Please rise in the room while the Crown Prince leaves the room. Thank you.